It is 5 years after a worldwide major catastrophe. The Earth's population has been reduced by 75%. Most of the major cities of the world have been abandoned and left in ruins. You and a small group of your closest family and friends live in a small community outside of what used to be Charleston, South Carolina. A hostile group has unfortunately moved into your area. They are threatening you. They're stealing from you every chance that they get. A member of your group, a 15-year-old boy, has left without permission. He's gone by himself to go fishing, and he has not returned. He's been gone for 24 hours. You don't know where he is. You don't know what's happened, but you suspect this group has something to do with it. What do you do? Option 1, do you contact the group, request a meeting, and see if you can find a solution to your problems? Option 2, plan an ambush. Take them out. Option 3 is pack up all of your belongings and move to a safer location. Final option is fortify your community and plan to defend yourselves. Right now, before we go any further, I want you in the comment section to leave what you would do. Tell me 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which of those options would you select? I will wait. Now that you've had your chance to make your selection, let's talk about each of those options and figure out what we might do. I really enjoy these types of survival scenarios. Sure, this one's a little bit out there. I get it, but it's still fun and something that, potentially could be in our future. We just don't know. So it's fun to talk about these things and think about them beforehand. First option was to reach out to this group, plan some sort of meeting on neutral turf where you can hash this thing out, figure out a solution to your problem, maybe get to the bottom of the problem and see if there's a way we can work this thing out, figure out what happened to that 15-year-old boy. Now, I think this is the, I don't know what you call it, I guess the diplomatic solution. And yeah, this would be great if this would work, but if the group is already showing signs of being hostile, you suspect them of kidnapping one of yours, the chances of them agreeing to do a meeting like this are probably slim. And I would be very suspicious of a meeting like this because this just might be an ambush that you're walking into. It's hard to say. It's really, really difficult to say, but I think in this situation, I think all of us would be very untrusting of a group like this, and planning a meeting like this is just going to be, I don't know, it's going to be risky, I'd say at best. But it'd be nice if you could just talk about your problems and work things out, but unfortunately that's not always the case. Planning an ambush, lying in wait, having the high ground, the definite strategic tactical advantage, and then taking as many of these individuals out as possible. That is definitely an option. And if our goal was just to eliminate them, then that would probably be the smart option. Yeah, morally, what would be the right thing to do? Why is this group being hostile in the first place? These are things that we'd have to think about and consider and weigh out our options. Is it a legitimate thing? Do we really think that they have something to do with our 15-year-old being missing? Or is this 15-year-old just missing because he's, being a 15-year-old boy? I don't think there's an acceptable number of casualties that you'd be willing to accept in this type of situation. I know a lot of you out there are probably going to say, there's an acceptable amount of casualties, but if it's your family and you're really, really close friends, I don't think any casualties are acceptable. And are we willing to risk that? We've already lost a 15-year-old boy potentially. Are we willing to risk a loss of more? I don't know. Is it worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze in this situation? Now, the third option was to pack up all your supplies, all your belongings, and head off to a safer location and just avoid the problem altogether. If this hostile group is moving in, they clearly want what you have. Get out of there and avoid the conflict in the dark of night when no one's expecting it. That's probably a difficult decision to make right there. I would say since you've been there for 5 years, let's say in this situation, and you've survived whatever the world has thrown at you, you've survived some really difficult things already. Are you willing to pack up and leave what you've built? You've probably, built this community with your bare hands, and you've toiled the soil, and you've grown the crops, and you've built the buildings and structures, and are you willing just to give that up and leave because some bully comes into the neighborhood? I don't know. I'd be really hesitant to do that. Really hesitant. Depends on how big the threat was, I would say. What's their numbers? How many do they have? Is it an overwhelming force that you can't possibly face without taking lots of casualties? I don't know. Last option is to fortify your community. Build that thing up. Build your walls. Make them as strong and as impenetrable as possible. Arm up and plan to defend yourselves. That's the one I lean towards. That's probably what I would be doing. I mean, obviously, we'd be doing sort of a combination of all this probably in this situation, but if you just had to pick one of these options, that's probably the smartest one is fortify up. You know that there's a threat out there. They've possibly kidnapped one of yours, killed one of yours, who knows? And if they've done that once, they might be willing to do it again. So fortifying your buildings, putting up more barriers, building bigger walls, closing gates, locking things up, having people on guard 24/7, I think would be a really, really smart solution to this problem. Maybe it wouldn't solve the problem, but it would definitely be helpful, because if they're being hostile and they're planning on, if they have anything planned as far as attacking you in the middle of the night and stealing more things, whatever, it'd be nice to have somebody on guard all the time so we could potentially stop this before they get inside our gates, basically. 4,500 votes on this one. 10% said contact the group, ask to meet and discuss a solution. 27% said plan an ambush. 6% said pack up supplies and move to a safer location. And then 57%, the vast majority of people, said fortify your community, plan to defend yourself. A lot of people really got into this one. They got excited and fired up about this post-apocalyptic scenario. I think it is fun to talk about. It's hopefully, I pray to God every single day that this is something that we never have to face. But it is interesting, and it is enjoyable to discuss these things. Quite a few people suggested a combination of these choices, and basically what they said is fortify your community, get ready, brace yourself for some sort of attack, and then gain intelligence on the other group. So do some reconnaissance, get out there, stake them out a little bit, and see how you can learn from what's going on. How many do they have in their group? What are they doing? What's their plan? See if you can get a little bit more information. And I think that would be a really, really smart choice. So fortify, get out there, and see if you can get a little bit more intel. Obviously, don't send people out alone. That wouldn't be smart. But sending out small groups to kind of get a little bit of information, I think, would be smart. Black Buddha 1854, he says the best defense is a good offense. Plan an ambush, handle the things on your terms in a situation you control. Yes, that's exactly what an ambush is. You've got the high ground, you've got the strategic advantage, and you can take care of business. An ambush is a very, very dangerous thing for the person being ambushed or the group being ambushed. It's always best to have at least 2 people together, and you should never go out alone. Agreed. But tell me a 15-year-old boy that always does what he's told, especially if there's a girl involved. So I think that there's situations. Yes, ideally you wouldn't go out alone in this situation, in this type of event, this type of circumstances in the world. If this is how you were living, obviously a 15-year-old boy should not go out on his own. He should have somebody, at least one person, with him at all times, just for security reasons. But 15-year-old boys do what 15-year-old boys do, and sometimes they don't do what they're told. By the way, do you guys like my Indiana Jones hat? I brought this out just for you guys, special occasion.
No, keep it on your head when you're videotaping.
Okay. Sir Shade 22-2 says, recon, find a high value target, then hit the group with an ambush, take a hostage of that high value target, I guess. Contact the group afterwards and use them as leverage to find out what happened to the boy. Set up a trade if they had kidnapped him. So I think that this is an interesting solution, but what if this group doesn't have anything to do with the 15-year-old boy being missing, and you have now kidnapped one of theirs? They're already hostile. They're probably going to be pissed that you've done this. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying it could potentially have really bad consequences. Josh Gaskin says, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Getting after it, Josh. You know, I think it's fun to discuss these topics, and I think it's interesting, and I think it can be beneficial to kind of think about solutions to problems that haven't occurred yet. But if you really put yourself in this position, this is a dangerous position. And then, are you willing to risk the lives of your loved ones, your wife, your kids? Are you willing to make some of these decisions for real? It's easy to talk a big game. It's easy to say, oh yeah, we'd ambush them and we'd do this and we'd take a hostage and we'd do all, yeah. In real life, we all want to be the hero of our own story. We all imagine ourselves in the gunfight, and we're the ones throwing down the lead, and we're judo chopping the bad guys and taking out sentries and stuff, and we don't think about the bullets coming back at us and possibly hitting us or our son or our daughter right here next to us in the house. And we don't talk about that kind of stuff. We don't think about that kind of stuff. But that's real. I mean, that's real. Every decision that you'd make in this situation would have life-altering consequences. I think that we have to really consider, and like I said before, I don't think there's any acceptable amount of casualties. It's not like, a world war where the army just accepts this number of casualties. It's just they accept that that's going to happen. It's not like that for you and your family. There's no amount of casualties that is acceptable for me. M3186 says, if you've made it 5 years, you've likely already reinforced and stabilized your community, and it's already hardened, and it's going to be difficult for people to get into because you probably faced something like this before, and that's probably true. If you've survived 5 years after this major event and the population has decreased by 75%, people are desperate. People are making rash decisions. They are stealing. They are pillaging. It is a difficult place to live, and most likely you've already done what needs to be done to your community to make it hard and make it difficult for people to get in there and take what they want. That's not saying that people won't continue to try, but you've probably already fortified your community to some degree. Maybe you've gone, maybe it's the first few years are really tough, but then you've gone a year or so in relative peace and harmony, and you haven't had to deal with a lot of this, and then suddenly it gets amped up again by this intruding group that's causing problems. I don't know. Musically Inclined says, defend your community, send out a spy and see if you can get some intel on the boy, see if you can spot the boy, see if they've got him in custody, that kind of thing. And I think that's probably a smart choice. Paul Paradise 66 says, do unto others before they do unto you. Yeah. All right. Several comments on guerrilla tactics, hit and run kind of tactics, taking one or two of them at a time and just kind of picking them off one by one to eliminate the threat slowly but surely. And yes, that's an effective strategy for sure. Now, I think it's enjoyable to talk about these subjects. I think it's enjoyable to think about these scenarios. But really, this was real life for people, let's say, in the Middle Ages in Europe. The Vikings would regularly raid small rural communities. They would steal, they would rape, they would pillage, they would kidnap people and sell them in the slave trade. This was real life. That happened to people, and this was a threat that they had to deal with. We currently live in a very comfortable, relatively easy time in history. Life is really good, despite what you see on the news and all the hardships and problems that are going on around the world. We live in a very good time in history, all things considered. We need to enjoy it, we need to cherish it, and we need to protect our current way of life. If we don't embrace how good we have it, and if we don't fight to protect what we have, the Vikings could come back. And nobody wants that. Thanks for watching, friends. Can't wait to see you on the next one. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm Jason Salyer with Survival Dispatch. As a Survival Dispatch insider, you'll be able to gain the knowledge, the skills, and equipment necessary to protect your family when it really, really matters. They'll provide crucial information on such things as stockpiling food, medical necessities, communication plans. You will receive specific, actionable plans. You can deliver proven techniques to help you get home, shelter in place, or bug out safe.